First, let's start with this case. I, 27, female, am Japanese and moved to an English-speaking country, not the United States, for university. My friend, 29, female, is someone I met there. A bit of background. She became my friend during university. I have a very Japanese-sounding name, and she immediately approached me to ask if I was Japanese, because she loves Japan. My English wasn't great at the time, and although she sometimes got frustrated, we got along really well and became close. However, I soon realized that she doesn't actually love Japan. She loves anime. She talks like an anime character, uses exaggerated facial expressions and hand gestures, wears cosplay as everyday clothing, and even wants to change her name to her favorite anime character's name. She proudly calls herself an anime enthusiast, though she stopped using the Japanese term for it after I explained its negative connotations in Japan. While it bothered me at first, I figured people are entitled to their interests, and I let it go. Now, she's still very much the same, but has built an impressive anime collection over the years. She's planning her first trip to Japan, and I was genuinely excited for her. I offered to help by putting together a detailed guide, and she was thrilled by the idea. I spent days creating a document for her, including etiquette tips, recommendations for food and sightseeing, places to avoid, red flags to watch out for, emergency contacts, including my family's phone numbers, and useful Japanese phrases. My parents even offered to host her if she needed a place to stay, so I included their address as an option. When I gave her the document, though, she rolled her eyes and dismissed it. She said it was boring and expected insider knowledge about anime tours without stupid tourists. She actually used the word gaijin. She also said she didn't need to know any Japanese because it would be a waste of time. According to her, Japanese people would speak English for her, and anime Japanese would be enough to get by. When I explained that most Japanese people don't speak fluent English and that anime Japanese isn't natural or practical, she dismissed me again. She also ignored the etiquette section, saying it didn't matter because tourists visit Japan all the time, so no one cares. When she showed me her outline for the trip, it was entirely focused on anime. No cultural or historical sites, just anime. I felt so embarrassed for her. I know this makes me sound like a terrible person, but I couldn't help it. I snapped and told her that she had no respect for Japanese culture, that she only saw Japan as the overly cute and sexualized world portrayed in anime, and that she was being ridiculous. I also said she'd be disappointed when people just saw her as an otaku. I admit I went too far when I called her a loser. She was really upset and hasn't spoken to me since. I feel terrible about how harsh I was, especially because I had put in so much effort for her, only for her to dismiss it entirely. Let's start judging. You're not in the wrong. You're right. She doesn't love Japan. She loves anime. And she's reducing the entire country to her own romanticized obsession with a specific form of media that one country produces. I don't understand the people calling you judgmental. I would be pretty frustrated too if someone claimed to love my country but insisted on reducing it to nothing but its most stereotypical form, calling all other aspects of it boring. She wanted you to be her tour guide, but you have no experience or interest in showing her around the extremely specific obsession she has, and are trying to make her aware of how the people of the country she claims to love will see her. When you have an obsession like this, it's also your responsibility not to put your blinders on and fail to look past it to what the rest of the world is doing and saying about how you present yourself in public. Could you have phrased it better? Absolutely. But she's done nothing but phrase everything badly since she met you. You earned this one after a series of insults. Coming to the most important part, you need to ditch her. She's not your friend. She doesn't see you as a person. You're just a fantasy come to life for her, and the second you don't conform to the fantasy, she will react the way painfully disillusioned people do. My advice is, don't be around for it. You've warned her the best you can. Now move out gracefully. Tell her you don't have the experience to give her what she needs. Let her visit Japan on her own. Let her face the consequences of her ignorance. Good luck, OP. You're not in the wrong. I feel embarrassed for your friend just reading this. A lot of Westerners don't have much cultural touch points outside of media, so they assume the same of other cultures. It sounds like she is just fetishizing a culture that she hasn't even bothered to learn about. You're not in the wrong. Your friend genuinely has no respect for your country, culture, and she's literally the worst type of tourist. As crappy as this is to say, I'm willing to bet the only reason why she tried to befriend you was because she has a fetish for Japanese people. My husband is Japanese, and he's had a lot of run-ins with people like her. You're not in the wrong. I am a student of Japanese. Like, I actually have a bachelor's degree and am working on my master's degree on Japan studies. Weeaboos like her give people like me a bad name. I've had to defend myself so many times that although, yes, I like anime, I'm not some weird anime otaku who sees nothing but anime. My main interest is actually Sengoku Jidai history and Edo culture. Idiot like her go to Japan and perpetuate bad stereotypes. She needs a wake-up call. Personally, I hope she is super disappointed in Japan and never goes back. Or maybe, if I'm thinking positive, she discovers the country has so much more to offer. Calling her a loser was a bit much, but she basically disrespected your whole culture. Next up, my sister, 20, has been going through a dramatic weight loss journey recently, and we're all so proud of her. She was extensively bullied as a kid, which made it hard for her to develop good self-esteem. Because of this, she hates taking photos or even seeing pictures of herself. Yesterday, I came home to find my sister trying on a new top, and my mom started taking pictures of her. My sister immediately asked her to stop, but my mom kept taking pictures despite her protests. My sister had to repeatedly ask, but my mom wouldn't stop. It almost felt obsessive. I didn't say anything at the time, but witnessed the whole thing. This isn't the first time something like this has happened in front of me. Today, my sister was in the kitchen, excitedly talking about how happy she is to get new clothes and finally feel confident wearing them. My mom said she was proud of her, but then pulled up old photos of my sister from before her weight loss. My sister made it very clear that she didn't want to see those pictures and practically begged my mom to stop, but my mom continued showing them. At that point, I stepped in and told my mom that her behavior was borderline abusive because she was making my sister so uncomfortable. This struck a serious nerve with my mom, and now she's demanding that I apologize for what I said. The rest of the family also seems to think I was in the wrong for saying that. I said it in a calm and even tone, but now I'm questioning if I overstepped by calling her out in such strong terms. Was I too harsh, or was it right to defend my sister? Let's start judging. You're not in the wrong. Your mom kept crossing boundaries, your sister clearly set, and you called it out. Maybe borderline abusive hit hard, but it sounds like she needed to hear it. Your sister deserves respect, not constant discomfort. Thank you for standing up for her. Your mom's reaction to being called out just doubles down on the notion that she's borderline abusive, because this is how abusive people act. They become majorly victimized when they're called out and demand that people retract statements like that. A more intuitive person might be open to asking themselves that question. I've asked myself if I'm abusive before, after having arguments with my boyfriend, etc. People don't necessarily have to be narcissists or have mental problems to perform abuse against others. We should always be checking ourselves. Obviously, what you said probably has more truth to it than you realize, or she wouldn't have that reaction. As she continues to demand an apology, I would simply say, in my opinion, not listening to somebody when they ask you to talk, stop and verbally communicate that they're uncomfortable. And continuing to perform the action that's making them feel uncomfortable is a form of abuse. You may think whatever you like about yourself, but that's my opinion about what that behavior amounts to. You can choose to be offended or not offended, but that's my opinion, and I don't have to feel differently about it just because you disagree. You're not in the wrong. Thank you for standing up to your mother. They don't always hear it, and it needs reinforcing when they are trampling boundaries. Next up, I, 45 female, have a dear friend Lauren, 43 female. We grew up together, and she was a bridesmaid at my wedding 20 years ago. Several years ago, my husband and I had an amazing opportunity to work and live abroad for a few years. This required us to sell our house and most of our belongings while putting the rest into storage. One item I couldn't part with was a beautiful antique crystal lamp that had belonged to my late grandmother. It holds significant sentimental value and many cherished memories for me. Unfortunately, our storage unit was completely packed, and I worried I wouldn't be able to fit the lamp in without sacrificing something else. When I mentioned this dilemma to Lauren, she offered to hold on to the lamp for me. She said it would look gorgeous in her living room, and she'd be happy to display it there until we returned. I was so relieved and grateful that I accepted her offer. Fast forward to recently. Our time abroad ended, and we've moved back to the United States. We bought a new house, retrieved our belongings from storage, and are in the process of setting up our home. Naturally, I asked Lauren for my lamp back, but she reacted angrily, insisting that she thought it was a gift. I was stunned and reminded her that it was a family heirloom and that she had promised to keep it for me until we returned. However, she insists that's not how she remembers it. Lauren claims it's the focal point of her living room, and that demanding it back would destroy our friendship. I'm heartbroken. Lauren has always been a little quirky, but she's never done anything like this before. She's one of my oldest friends, and I don't want to lose her, but I also don't want to lose a treasured family heirloom. The lamp is also quite valuable. It appraised at over $2,000. To be clear, I am 100% certain I never told her it was hers to keep. It's unimaginable to me that she would think I'd gift her something so significant, both emotionally and financially. When I told my sister about the situation, she was furious. The lamp holds memories for her too, and she was adamant that it must remain in the family. I've always planned to pass it down to my daughter one day. Last week, I confronted Lauren again, reiterating that I wanted the lamp back. She burst into tears, accusing me of valuing material things over friendship. She reluctantly agreed to return it, but since then, she's come up with multiple excuses about why she's too busy for me to pick it up or for her to drop it off. Now I'm questioning myself. Is a lifelong friendship worth more than a lamp? Am I being unreasonable for demanding it back and potentially damaging our friendship? I got the lamp back. I explained all the details in a comment below. Thank you so much for the support. You all helped me realize I wasn't in the wrong. Let's start judging. You're not in the wrong. The only person putting material things above your friendship is Lauren. She's the one who issued the ultimatum. She's the one who would rather have her aesthetic house with the lamp than you as a friend. She's the one who convinced herself you'd let her keep a beloved antique, despite the fact that she literally only has possession of it because you wanted to keep it. Her own logic/story is full of holes and she knows it. That's why she's going nuclear. When was the last time you were at her house? Have you seen the lamp recently? Are you sure it hasn't been broken or sold? Or is she just really so deluded that she built her room around an item she doesn't own and has been showing of her antique for years? Lauren insists she remembers that the lamp was a gift, not a loan. Lauren will end your friendship if you demand the lamp back. Lauren cried and accused you of valuing the lamp over your friendship with her. Isn't that what Lauren just threatened you with? It's not for you to decide if a lifelong friendship is more important than the lamp. Lauren has already decided that, spoiler, she values the lamp more. You're not in the wrong. OP, something that has not been touched on, that will be a likely default on Lauren's behalf, is that she will do everything to play the victim in your social circles and paint you as a pariah since she's already threatening you with throwing away a 20-year friendship over a lamp. In today's social media-obsessed world, she'll come out as the one who's been wronged. Only you know whether or not she would resort to this tactic. But if she's being this dramatic to end your friendship over the lamp, then be aware of what other petulant antics an erratic person would do who doesn't get their way. Next up, I, 28 female, started a full-time 9-to-5 job 4 months ago, while my partner, 33 male, works 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. We have 3 kids, a 9-year-old daughter, a 6-year-old daughter, and a 5-year-old son. Daycare was costing us $400 a week. Our youngest was in full-time care, and the older 2 were in before and after school care. About 2 months ago, I suggested cutting daycare for the older 2 to save money. This decision reduced our weekly cost to $250. I offered to handle morning drop-offs, while my partner would take care of afternoon pickups since we both work near the kids' school. A month later, my mother-in-law, 53, moved in with us after losing her housing. She offered to care for our youngest to help us cut costs even further. Once she was settled, we decided to pull him out of daycare entirely. Now she watches him at home until he starts school next year and helps out around the house, which has been a huge relief. While this has been a financial win, saving us $250 per week, my partner hasn't been happy with the changes. He appreciated the time daycare gave him to unwind after his workday, and I know his job is high stress since he's second in command at his workplace. However, even at the reduced cost, I felt daycare was an unnecessary expense when we had alternative options available. The money we're saving now goes toward groceries and weekend activities for the kids, which has significantly improved our financial situation. Despite this, my partner has been frustrated and frequently brings up his dissatisfaction. While I understand his feelings, I feel guilty because I was the one who pushed for these changes. At the same time, I genuinely believed this decision was best for our family as a whole. Edited to add, we did discuss this beforehand, and he agreed to the plan, especially given the financial strain we were under due to rising costs. However, his continued frustration has made me second-guess if I handled this the right way. So, am I the idiot for cutting daycare and asking him to adjust? Or should I have compromised more? Let's start judging. You're not in the wrong. I'm sorry, but $250 a week is way too high a cost to unwind after work when you have 3 kids. That money could absolutely be better spent elsewhere. Maybe try and find another way to help him unwind to show that you care but just were looking out for the family. Does OP ever get time to unwind? Is being cared for one-on-one by a dedicated and loving family member better for the child than a daycare? Everyone is talking about OP's poor husband's needs without seeing that he's the one being selfish in this situation. He's a father, so he has 2 jobs, and unfortunately, adults don't always get time to unwind. Look at the mental load that OP already had to take on when getting her new job. She was the one that had to figure out the logistics of the childcare situation for all the children. Did her husband ever help or weigh in during that time? Or did he just react when he realized he could no longer sit on his phone mindlessly scrolling for several hours while his youngest was at daycare? He knew those decisions had to be made, but let that mental burden fall on his wife. Sounds like all the burden of childcare may also fall on her shoulders, or fobbed off on his mother. He's probably reached his level of incompetence as second in command at his job too, because a real leader steps up. OP is you're not in the wrong. You're not in the wrong. I don't understand people that behave like being around their own children is a huge imposition. Oh no, I have to be around the kids I created. Your mother-in-law is in the house too. Hopefully she can help with watching all the kids while your partner unwinds after work. Or will he want her exiled from the home as well? Congrats on having a mother-in-law that isn't a nightmare to live with. You might have won the Reddit lottery.